Welcome back. You're watching Hot Stoxx here on CNBC Africa. Ellies is a manufacturer, wholesaler and distributor of electronic products related to television reception, including satellite and terrestrial aerial ranges. Ellies has trading divisions in all major centers throughout South Africa, as well as Windhoek, Gaborone and Maputo. Now, Tshepo, that intro was really for my own benefit because I really don't know much about the company, and I said before we went to air that I don't really have much to discuss. So I think in the interest of just my own personal education, it would be a good idea to start with a little bit of a history lesson in terms of where this company's come from, because as far as I can tell, since they listed in 2007, it's really been a work in progress. So just take us through where they're from and where they're at now.
Sure. If I'm not mistaken, company was founded in either the early 90s or the late 80s by the current chairman, and they've really taken on, I think most of the stocks that we've spoken on today it's the South African story, but coupled with that the African story, right? So this is a business that distributes satellites. So when you go and get your DSTV or your Top TV, they distribute the actual satellite equipment for that. They also have a few divisions, so they've got a renewable energy division. Coupled with that, they sell generators as well. I think they're the largest distributor of generators in the country. So that's in a 30-second nutshell.
What was the listing price in September 2007, and where are they sitting now? How have they performed since listing?
Wow, that's a great question. I should know that off the top of my head.
R2 was the listing price.
R2, okay.
Yeah.
And
where they at now?
It's done compared to some of these other listings. I mean, Brickcore comes to mind. They put out a cautionary today. They certainly outperformed Brickcore or the likes of Afrimat, etc. But Ellies was founded in 1984.
There we go.
And I know that because I was installing aerials with my uncle in 1986 as part of my back job. Yeah, so you know, it's a great business in the sense that they've dominated the market in terms of signal distribution, etc. But the reality of the situation is it's a commoditized business. So you know, they have no say on input price and no say on selling price, because if they push their prices too high on selling their products, then foreign competitors from the east will just take their market share. So it's a pretty tight market. They are the dominant player. There are some small local players as well, but you're never going to make significant profits, and you're not going to have profit growth exceeding 20% per annum every year for the next 5 years.
But what about what's in store for Ellies on the horizon in terms of their new growth drivers? And two come to mind in particular. The first is the partnership with Skyvine in the UK to provide high-speed internet, and the second growth driver is alternative energy, particularly low-pressure solar geysers and lighting, and of course the impending migration digital a TV move. That's also quite an exciting opportunity for them. What do you make of these growth drivers, Tshepo?
I think they are extremely exciting growth drivers, specifically the high-speed internet. If you're looking at Africa as a region, I think only 5% of the entire world's internet usage is coming from Africa, even though Africa accounts for 1/10 of the world's population. So from that perspective, it talks to potential of the years to come. Whether that potential will be realized immediately is a question of infrastructure. So I think as infrastructure develops and grows in Africa, and that's coming along, we're seeing countries like Angola taking off, Ghana and Kenya. As the infrastructure improves in those countries, I think that particular venture is going to be particularly rewarding for Ellies. Renewable energy, I think that's the catchword in all energy talks around the world. So I think there's a significant upside. Is it quantifiable right now? Probably not immediately, but I think for a patient investor, these are nice additions to the Ellies basket.
And the set-top boxes for digital TV, they're going into that with Altec. What's your take?
Again, this starts to present great opportunities as a whole. So each one of these presents significant upside if just one of them takes off and starts to talk to a basket of companies and ventures that they have that positions them very well for the future.
Well, before we go to hot or not, I think it'll be good just to mention manufacturing, and the data out today that the output was up 2.6% year-on-year in November, but economists are expecting year-on-year output growth of 0.7%, so it was quite a pleasant surprise. Is the outlook for the manufacturing sector as rosy for 2012, Ashraf?
I think that it's a lot more positive than what expectations are right now. We've entered the year in a negative mindset, and if you ask, I'm sure that on some of your shows you've asked fund managers, where do you see the index at the end of the year, and none of them are really saying 30% higher, etc. And to me, it's great to be counterintuitive and actually go against their fairly negative views, because a year ago everyone was talking nothing less than 20%, and all we got was 0.5%. So to my mind, I think they're going to be surprises to the upside.
Is there going to be a surprise in terms of your votes, gentlemen, because you've just been unanimous in terms of what you've been saying about the stocks? Ashraf, let's start with you. Ellies, hot or not?
If I were a private equity investor, it's one that I'd certainly buy. I really don't see justification for this company being listed right now, and it's on a 7.1 PE. Unfortunately, it doesn't have the liquidity, which is important from my perspective, but certainly an attractive buy and worth a punt. I know for some of the punters watching this show, I'd say give it a slog. I don't really buy the renewable energy story, but I do see upside in other areas.
Upside in other areas, and he would buy it if he were a private equity investor. Tshepo, are you going to echo the sentiments?
I think we compared notes before the show. I'd agree with that. In terms of, as I said, for Ellies to be a great investment, it's a good investment right now. If any one of the ventures that they're taking on going forward actually does what it should do, then it will be a superb investment for people. So I think at a PE of 7, they are stingy with the dividend. I think they've only paid one dividend ever, so very stingy with the dividend. But at a PE of 7, I think it's very hot. Very hot for Tshepo.
Something else that's hot is your stock pick for today, and that's Anglo American. Tell us why you've gone for this.
If I could pick just one stock for the year, which no portfolio manager should ever say, I think it would be Anglo's. Just to give you a sense of how bullish I am on Anglo's, it's in our global portfolios where we can invest anywhere in the world, and our local portfolios. So in terms of Anglo's as a stock, we're very bullish on the position. What makes us so confident? You talk to the natural inclination is for a value guy to tell you the trailing PE, which is 7 and a bit. But I think more important for resource counters is a through the cycle return, price to earnings ratio, and that's closer to 10. From that perspective, I think it presents significant upside from a commodity player. Now, Anglo's historically has been rated down because of poor management, if I can say that. But I think over the last few years, Cynthia Carroll has been making all the right noises in terms of this business. I think she's made Anglo's, this big global giant, into a far more nimble beast, if I can call it that, and nimble from a few perspectives. So they've really improved their balance sheet via selling off non-core assets and generated a lot of cash and repaired a very stressed balance sheet. On top of that, nimble from a decision-making perspective. We've seen the decisions that have come through in the last 6 months, the De Beers purchase as one of them, and a few others. I think from that perspective, a far more nimble company at very great valuations. I think Anglo's is a strong buy.
You really weren't kidding when you said you liked it. If I'd let you carry on, we would have gone into tomorrow. Ashraf, let's come to you.
Yeah, no, I'm going to have to keep mine short. It's another commodity counter, African Rainbow Minerals, and my view is that it not only offers you exposure to commodities that are growing, so we're talking iron ore, nickel, etc., but their operations are expanding, so output is increasing, and even though the valuation is at around 16 to 18 times, it's the strong growth in earnings over the next 3 years, which is attractive to me, that will drag it back, the forward PE back to single digits. And if one looks at the takeout of Metarex, you look at 2.5 billion rand deal done with Shanduka with the Chinese, I think that African Rainbow will certainly be a target for one of the foreign buyers.